How do you handle the due on sales clause on a sub 2 deal? Everybody, this is Zachary Beat, smartrealestatecoach.com. Welcome to another Thursday Q&A. This is such a common question that we get when it comes to sub 2 deals. Now, I think it's because it's something that not everybody understands on how to handle, and seems like the elephant in the room, like it's something that's gonna affect you, but more than likely will not. So, how we handle a due on sales clause? Number one is if you don't have the agreement in our QLS Home Study course, and I suggest you get them. Our purchase and sale agreement that we use specifically for sub 2s has sub 2 language in it, and the seller has to sign off on it. Basically acknowledging that they understand there's a due on sales clause in the agreement and that they are still selling the property to us. So that's number one. That's huge. Number two is it's a mindset thing. We have done so many sub 2 deals and have a track record of 0 loans being called due. Now, does that mean that they'll never get called due? Well, of course not. I can't guarantee that. What I can tell you is it's a very small percentage that will. If you understand how banks work, banks are there to collect interest on loans and not to collect properties. Now, so it is actually very expensive for a bank to foreclose or call a loan due because they're going to be losing that interest in which they've signed that mortgage over. So as long as you are maintaining and keeping the mortgage current, then it is very unlikely that that loan is going to be called due. Of course, if you stop making payments, it's inevitable that the loan is going to be called due. So that is very important that you do that. Also, we've become much more sophisticated when it comes to purchasing these properties over the years. And that is what we've done now is we're starting to buy properties in a trust because the Garment St. Germain Act states that a family member can deed over the property or sell the property to another family member without worrying about the due on sales clause. So what we have now completed, we have created trusts on which are named after the street address and the seller's last name is typically how we structure it. And what that does is that just adds another layer for protection for both you and the seller. Remember, this whole thing is set up for both you and the seller to win. You're solving the seller's challenge, and you're creating a profitable deal by buying it sub 2. So that's another thing. And then lastly, if you are really uncomfortable, the seller's really uncomfortable, then there's other techniques that you can use, such as buying a property, contract for deed, or a deed in lieu, something along the lines where you're working with an attorney and you as the investor are still getting all of the benefits as being the owner, but the piece of paper on which you purchased the property with sits in the attorney's drawer. So that would not trigger a due on sales clause because they would never be notified in order to call that. So it's another way of doing it. An associate of ours was notified by his attorney and said that there's some local banks right now calling loans due. So I suggest you do a contract for deed with these properties. So what the associate did was he pivoted, and now he buys properties specifically as a contract for deed if he was going to do sub 2. So super important, obviously, that you have your dream team and your attorney in which to bounce ideas off of because you are the investor. You're the one supposed to be super creative in buying properties, but you have to be able to put your dream team around you. That way you can make the best decisions possible.